Okay, today is a shorter daf with one topic, one or two topics, and today's daf is Daf Yomi Nazir Nazir, and we are starting from Daf Yud Gimel Amid Beis by the Gemara. Okay, hold on. Hello, Lewis. We just began. Hi. We just began. Hi, Lewis. We just began.
Hi.
Okay. We're Daf Yud Gimel Amid Beis, and we're starting from the Gemara right after the Mishnah. What we're discussing over here is can you start a Naziris? Can you interrupt to do another Naziris and get back to the earlier Naziris that you started? It's almost like if you start a book and then you ordered another book. So you stop reading one book, Havdil, and then you go to the next book, finish that, and then come back to finish the first book you started. That's what we're discussing over here. You start a Naziris, you didn't finish it, and then you start another Naziris, finish that, and go back to the old one. So let me give you the case. You go to the Gemara over here, I made it big. Boya Rova. Rova asked a question. A man said like this, Hareini Nazir. Hi, Alan. We just began. Right after your Gimel Amid Beis, right after the Gemara. So we're talking about over here like this. Can you interrupt the Naziris? Boya Rava. Rava asked a question. A man said, Hareini Nazir la'achar esrim yom. I'm going to be a Nazir for 30 days after 20 days. So in 20 days' time, I want to start a Naziris. Fine. But then he said, right now, I want to start a Naziris me'ayam, 100 days. So how could you start a 30-day Naziris if you said, right now, I want to be a 100-day Naziris? So you took two commitments upon yourself.
Put them together, making fun. Right. Put them together, so you have 100 together.
130, but you can't put them together. He said two separate times. Hareini Nazir, la'ach esrim yom. That's commitment number one, that he's going to be a Nazir in 30 days' time. After 20 days, he's going to be a Nazir. After 20 days, he's going to be a Nazir. Right now, he wants to start me'ayam 100-day Naziris. Mao, what's the din? So I'm just going to put a line graph on the screen here, so you could see what's going to make. The Gemara's question over here is, hi Sheldon, we just began. The Gemara's question is, should you do nothing? The first 20 days, don't do anything. Even though you said you want to start right now 100-day Naziris, but how could you start 100-day Naziris if in 20 days' time you have a 30-day Naziris coming up? So first, do nothing the first 20 days. Then, from day number 20 to day number 50, have your 30-day Naziris. Finish that one, bring the carbonos and the carbon, and the haircut. And then from 50 to, from day 50, you start the 100-day Naziris. Even though you said ma'achshav, you want to start the 100 Naziris right now, it's not practical to do so. So that's proposal number one on the Gemara. But then the Gemara has proposal number two, and this is what the main topic today is. Start your 100-day Naziris. Do first 20 days of your 100-day Naziris. Interrupt it to do the 30-day Naziris that you committed to do a 30-day Naziris at day number 20. That will give you to day number 50. So what do you have left to complete the 100-day Naziris? Well, you already did 20, so you have 80 days left. And the question of the Gemara is it a good idea to interrupt a Naziris to fulfill another Naziris? That's the Gemara's question. So, Boya Rava. A person says, I'm going to be a Nazir after 20 days. Right now, I want to start 100-day Naziris. Maho, what would you tell this person? Since your first proposal, number one, is don't do anything the first 20 days. Even you'll never complete the 100-day Naziris during the first 20 days. Don't start the 100-day Naziris. First, wait till day 20 to start the 30-day Naziris, and then do the 100-day Naziris. Or you say, get started with it right away. Even the Islay Gidol Seir Labasof, since you have a good chunk of Naziris left at the end, because at the end, you'll have to complete, according to proposal number two, another 80 days. which will give you
He
plenty.
can make a different Nazirs. And one has for the wine, and one has for a haircut. So he can, so it's different Nazirs. So he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but you can't make a separate. They go together. The wine and the haircut have to stay the same. So you can't separate that. So you do the 80 days, which gives him time to grow his hair again, because at day 50 he's taking a haircut because of the 30-day Naziris, right? So
Yeah.
the 80 days gives him time to grow hair again. So the Gemara says, is that a good idea? First start your 100, do what you can, interrupt it, and then go back to do the rest. So the 80 days. So the Gemara says, why do you give me a case of that the second Naziris that he wants to start right now is 100-day Naziris? Even if it was a 30-day Naziris, you have the same question, because you can't do 30-day Naziris during the first 20 days. So you could say that a person said, I'm taking a Naziris of 30 days starting from day 20, and right now I want to take a Nazira of 30 days. So do 20 days now, interrupt it with the 30 days, and then come back and do the 10 more that you owe from the Naziris that you started from. So the Gemara says, you're right. I can ask that question. One from the other, I'm going to ask this question. In other words, it's in stages. What does it mean? We go to the top of Yudalit Amud Aleph. Intim Tzulaimi, if you want to say Naziris Mu'etes, by a small Naziris, I don't want you to interrupt the small Naziris, because what are you going to finish? What are you going to be missing when you do a small Naziris? You're going to be missing 10 days left. So you can only do 10 days of Naziris following you taking a haircut for the interruptedness into the Naziris that was in the middle. So Kavan da Asara Yamin Hu Diyasun, since you have only another 10 days left, Loisalek Le Halein Asara, these 10 cannot connect with the previous 20, because that's not enough time to grow here. You see, in our case, I have 80 connecting with 20. So then, 80 is a big chunk of change. So then you can say it connecting. But if there was only 10 days left, I wouldn't say that the 10 connects to the 20, because after 10 days, you're going to require him to take another haircut. I mean, there's no hair there. It hardly grew. You have to have a 30-day growth. So therefore, Vadai Nazir, so in the case where it's a small Naziris, that means that you took upon yourself right now to do a 30-day Naziris, Vadai, so would you say like this? Vadai Nazir me'yom kivin the islay tamani yos yoimin, by the Nazir of the 100 days, you have 80 days left, lebesoif, Stolken lane, they connect with that, or it doesn't connect with it. That's the question of the Gemara. If there was 10 days left, then certainly it doesn't connect with the 20. But if there was 80 days left of the Naziris, so then it could connect with the first 20 that you did. That's the Gemara's question. Well, basically, can you interrupt Naziris? The intim tzoloi mechayli, if you want to say that you could interrupt the Naziris, this is a good scenario. Again, you would do first 20 days Naziris of your 100-day Naziris, of your 100-day commitment. So you just knock off 20, interrupt by day 20 doing a regular Naziris of 30 days, finish that one, and then from day 50 to 130, complete the 80 days left of your 100-day Naziris. That could make sense. But what happens like this? Listen to this case. And we have to know that there's another concept called Nazir Olam. I want to be a Nazir for the rest of my life. How about that? So if somebody's a Nazir for the rest of their life, only once in a while he can take a haircut to just make it easier upon himself. But really, you're a Nazir for the rest of your life. So if a person says, Hareini Nazir la'achar chop yom, I'm taking a regular Naziris after 20 days. From day 20, I want a 30-day Naziris. But right now I want to take Nazir Olam. I want to be a Nazir for the rest of my life. So if you start the Naziris of the rest of your life, you'll never have to be able to do the interruption of a regular Naziris day 20. Because once you start a Nazir Olam, that you're a Nazir for the rest of your life, there's no interruption. There's no stopping of that first one. So should you start the Nazir Olam first? Because you said Ma'achshav, but then you'll never be able to do the next part of your commitment of Hanei Nazir La'achar Chaf Yoim, because once you start a Nazir Olam, it goes on forever. Michayle Alei, should you start it, or should you not start it? Or first you should wait the 20 days, do nothing, even though you said you want to start right now to be in a Nazir Olam, but by doing so, you won't be able to accomplish both commitments. So basically, we tell you, push it off. Don't do anything first 20 days. First 20 days, be a regular Nazir for 30 days. And then beyond that, you take on the Naziris for the rest of your life. In Tim Tzulaimi, if you want to say, Hacha, over here, we tell you to start your Nazir Olam right away. Why? Why would I tell him to start Nazir Olam right away? Even though you may not be able to accomplish your second commitment of being a Nazir after 20 days, once you're already a Nazir for the rest of your life, even the Efshel Itchulei, since it's possible that you'll be able to go to a rabbi and release yourself of your commitment that starts from day 20. So it's not a for sure thing that's going to happen. So therefore, we tell you, Chayli, start your Nazir Olam right now. You took on a commitment to be a regular Nazir after 20 days.
Yeah.
You may be able to go to a rabbi and get that release. So you're never going to violate that commitment. It's possible. So it's not a for sure thing that's going to happen. Okay, comes along. The question of the Gemara is like this. Omar, if a person says, Hareini Nazir Shimshin la'achar esrim yoim. He said, Umiachshav Nazir Stam. He said, right now, I want to be a Nazir for 30 days. But after 20 days, I want to be a Nazir Shimshon. A Nazir Shimshon is also a Nazir for the rest of your life, right? And like Samson, he was a Nazir for the rest of life. The only difference is that you are a Nazir Shimshon is somebody that could touch Mitama Lamesim. Because Shimshon, if you learn Tanakh, was Mitama Lamesim. He just didn't drink wine and cut his hair at all, but he was Mitama Lamesim. So if you if you're going to be a Nazir Shimshon for the rest of your life after 20 days, then why would you start right now a 30-day Naziris if you know that after 20 days, you're going to interrupt it to become a Nazir Shimshon, and you'll never be able to finish the Nazir Shimshon because that continues on to the rest of your life. And furthermore, you can, and here is the big chiddush of the Gemara, is that if someone commits himself to be a Nazir Shimshon, you can never go to a rabbi to get that released. It's not like a neder. It's almost by saying, I'm a Nazir Shimshon. Well, Shimshon was born a Nazir, and therefore he didn't even have a choice. It's not that Shimshon took on a commitment to be his Nazir. His parents said, while he was, before they got even pregnant, that when he's born, he's going to be a Nazir. So it's something by someone who says, I want to be like Shimshon, you're basically saying, I never want to renege and release myself of that commitment. So here you have a situation. Do we tell him to start a regular Nazir? Do what you can. You'll interrupt it to become at day 20 a Nazir Shimshon, and you'll never be able to complete that Naziris that you started because you'll be a Nazir Shimshon for the rest of your life. Or do you tell him, listen, but you made a commitment, so just delay becoming a Nazir Shimshon. First, wait 20 days, then become a regular Nazir. And then after the 20 days, after the 30 days, which is day number 50, then you should become the Nazir Shimshon. So that's the Gemara's question. Mahu. You cannot release yourself of a commitment to become a Nazir Shimshon. So Michayle, should you start being a regular Nazir now, although you're going to come to interrupt it and never get back to complete it because you're going to become a Nazir Shimshon by day number 20, we tell you not to do that. We tell you, listen, do nothing till day number 20. Day number 20, take on a regular Naziris, and then finish that commitment, and then you become a Nazir Shimshon. So the Gemara leaves that unresolved so far. And here the Gemara says, like a question that's unrelated to the topic that we're discussing, but the Gemara says, Oma kamoisha b'shiva ba'adar. I want to be like the Jewish people on the 7th day of Adar when they dealt with the event that happened to Moshe. What happened to Moshe on the 7th day of Adar? Two things. One, he passed away. And the other thing, he was born that day. Well, the day that Moshe passed away, The day that Moshe passed away, probably people out of respect committed themselves to become a Nazir. So maybe that's what he meant. When a person says, I want to be like the Jewish people, the day that Moshe died, that took on to be a Nazir, I also want to be a Nazir. Or did they mean the 7th day of Adar, the day that Moshe was born? When Moshe was born, nobody took on to be a Nazir. So what does a person mean when he says, I want to be a Nazir like Moshe on the 7th day of Adar? What's the din? So this is like a side question. That's why Masechta Nazir is very difficult, because it wasn't edited. This question doesn't seem to fit in to all the questions that we're talking about up until now of overlap Naziris. Anyway, the Gemara gets back to one point. Peshoit mine kadmaisa. Let's just answer one question. Hareini Nazir. The Brisa says, if someone says, Hareini Nazir la'achar esrei yom, commitment number one is after 20 days, I want to be a Nazir for 30 days. Ume'achshav, right now, mea yom, and right now I want to be 100-day Nazir. So then start right now, Moina Esrim, start right now being your 100-day Nazir, count 20 days, interrupt it, then count 30 days, finish that one, and then complete, then go back and do the 80 to connect with the 20 that you started with, so that you can complete Naziris Rishayna, the first Naziris. So that is the answer. The solution to the problem is, if someone takes that kind of a neder, you should first do the 20 days of the 100-day Naziris, interrupt it with a 30-day, and then come back on day 50 to do another 80 days to make up the other missing amount from the 100-day commitment of Naziris.
Why 20, not 25, not 18? Why 20?
On day 20, he committed on day 20. He said first, on day 20, I'm becoming a 30-day Nazir. Then he said, right now, I want to be a 100-day Nazir. So
wait. He started Naziris, and on day 20 of his 30 days, he said,
He wants to find out
I want
if
to
it
be
can.
100?
no, right now, today, he said, in 20 days' time, I want to be a Nazir. So that means in 20 days' time, he has to take a 30-day Naziris. The problem,
And when does he say he wants to be 100?
right after he said that, he said, right after that, he said, oh, by the way, right now, I want to be a 100-day Nazir.
So why do we consider him to be sane? Why do we consider it to be a normal thing? Why don't we just say,
He's
just
nuts.
do the 100? Why are we taking this as seriously
But
as
he
we
said-
are? What he's doing makes no sense.
What he's doing makes no sense, but we're talking about a sane person, and we could make it make sense. What we
So
could
why don't
tell-
we just say do
He's
the
out on
100?
20. If he can do it on 20, then he wants to go for 100.
Yeah, he could do like you can make it work. You can say, I'm starting the 20.
Right.
Start
Try
the
to
20.
say I like it, then I want now 100.
Right. I'll interrupt with the 30, and then I'll go back and complete the 80 days. Like you ever start a book, then
Or why is he allowed to take a haircut if he's still within the 100?
well, he's taking a haircut on day 50, right? Right over here, he'll take a haircut. Day
But
50.
it's still within the bigger Naziros.
Yeah, but this is a haircut of, you're right. It's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. You're right. But that's a haircut of a mitzvah, which is not considered to be a haircut of an Aveira. You're right. It's not.
But we're allowing them to actually overlap here.
Right.
That's taking a haircut during a Naziros, which
Right.
is not allowed.
Which is, but it's a haircut of a mitzvah, so it overrides not taking a haircut. And
So you're saying that at day 30 he could say,
at
I
day
want to
50,
do a 40-day Naziros and just add another one. I mean,
well, yeah, he probably could do it, but to keep it simple, he said at day 20, I'm taking a 30-day Naziris. Right?
okay.
And then so therefore at day 50, he takes a haircut and completes. Now he has another 80 days to grow more here. So when he reaches day number 130, he could easily take a haircut that day to complete the Naziris. So
Okay.
he'll take 2 haircuts. You're right. It was a very good question, what you just said. How can you take a haircut in the middle of another Naziris? That is what they grapple with. But the answer to that question is, since you're obligated to take a haircut because a Nazir, when he finishes his Naziris, has to take a haircut. So that's a mitzvah haircut. That's not considered.
No, I understand, but in my mind, he hasn't finished his Naziris
Yeah.
because he's still in the middle of Naziris.
Right.
So,
right.
All right.
I agree with that. In fact, we're going to have another situation.
He doesn't cut it down now. He wants more. He didn't do nothing wrong.
Yeah. Right. One more thing. We learned in our Mishnah yesterday, if a person says, Hareini, his wife wasn't pregnant, okay? And he says, Hareini Nazir, and when I have a son. And then he says, Nazir, I want to be a Nazir right now. So he started counting his own Naziris. Let's say he counted a regular Naziris. And after day 20, his wife gave birth to a boy, Mazel Tov. So then you stop your counting, and you should count the Naziris that you had when you were going to have a son, finish that Naziris, and then go back to yours. Okay, so let's just, here it is. The first count was you counted 20 days for your own Naziris. Then your wife gave birth on day 20, so then you have to be a regular Nazir. And then you go back and finish the first count, you do another 10. That's what our Mishnah says. Okay? Overlapping. The question, and this is Steve, your probably question is, what happens if he became Tameh during here, in the overlap? Does he blow the first count? So that is the machlekes between, we're going to have a machlekes between Rabbi Yochanan and Shlakish. Nitma b'mei b'noi. He came Tameh during the time that he was doing the Naziris because he had a baby son. Rabbi Yochanan Amasaiser, the whole thing, it's like a board game. He has to start from the very beginning. The first 20 that he did as a Naziris doesn't count for anything. Rish Lakish says, no, Eina Saiser, it only starts to count for the Naziris that you were counting for your son. But the original Naziris that you started but didn't complete doesn't get messed up over here, is not destroyed. Rabbi Yochanan says it's Saiser. Since you didn't take a haircut yet, it's considered like one long Naziris. And therefore, if you became Tameh, you really got to start from not only one from the second Naziris, but back to one from the first Naziris. The first 20 days didn't count at all. Rish Lakish it doesn't destroy it. Naziris D'Dei, the first Naziris that you did on your behalf is one type of Naziris. V'Debrei, and the one that you're honoring the commitment of doing a Naziris for your son is a separate one. So again, a guy had a Naziris, he counted 20 days Naziris. Then he got a Mazel Tov, his wife had a baby boy, and he started keeping the commitment that he said, when my wife has a boy, I'm gonna become a Nazir. If he, according to Rish Lakish, if he became Tameh during that Naziris, it only messes up that Naziris, but it doesn't mess up the previous Naziris from the first count. The Rabbi Yochanan says it does. Now we go to Yudal and Beis, a few more lines. Nitma b'mei tzoratoi. Oh, beautiful. If a guy, let's say you took one Naziris of 30 days. At day 20, a person became a Metzora. If you became a Metzora, so then first get rid of the Metzora and then go back to complete your Naziris. So you became a Metzora. During that time, you touched the mace. Well, that's the neutral time. You're in a neutral zone of, you have tzaras. You can't be a Nazir when you're a Metzora. And then in that time, he became Tameh. So does it mess things up?
Can he cut his hair and drink wine during that time too?
Yes. Can he cut his hair during that time?
It's the same time out.
So. Yeah, I would think so. I think that he could. That's a good question.
We cannot be his Mansoyo.
But you know, when you cut your hair, when you cut your hair or drink wine, you never have to recount. The only time the clock resets is only if you became Tameh to a dead body. Okay, so Nitma, he touched a dead body, but made Saratoi during when he's a Metzora. So Rabbi Yochanan says the whole thing up until you became Metzora, it became demolished. You have to restart the clock. Rav Shlakish says it doesn't restart the clock. Rabbi Yochanan says it starts the clock. The Haba Naziris Kite. You're like this is
It'll be a tumor.
like Steve, you wanted to say you're still in the middle
Yeah.
of the series. Just because you're in a neutral zone, you're still in the middle of the program, and therefore, if you became Tameh, it should restart.
It'll be in a zero.
Rish Lakish says it doesn't demolish. Tzura'as l'chud, Naziris l'chud. During the period that you have a mitzvah, you're in a neutral period. It's like a break in the action, and therefore, even though you touch the dead body, it should not affect the Naziris. So the Gemara says it seems that you're telling me two machlekes between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish, and it's the same idea. Rabbi Yochanan says soiser, and Rish Lakish says it doesn't soiser. Utzricha, I need you to tell me both. If you would just tell me by the first one, by the first case, when the two Naziris overlap, your son's Naziris and your personal Naziris, by he Amar Rabbi Yochanan Soisa. In that case, Rabbi Yochanan says Soisa, because Shem Naziris Achasi, because you're still in the middle of a Naziris. You see in this picture over here, you started counting a 20-day Naziris, and then you interrupted it because you had a mazel tov, your wife gave birth. And so you started another Naziris, but you're still considered a Nazir. On this, Rabbi Yochanan said that if you became Tameh, the whole thing gets messed up. But in the case where you became a Mitzayra, in the case of Mitzayra, during that period of time, you're not a Nazir anymore. You're just a Mitzayra. Maybe he would agree to Rish Lakish that it doesn't demolish it. So Rabbi Yochanan said, even by a Mitzayra, you have to start from resets the clock. The Nazir l'chud, it's that so Kamash Malam, that Rabbi Yochanan does not agree with that svara of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan doesn't agree with the svara of Rish Lakish. If it would just tell me the second thing, Bahal Kamar Rish Lakish. In the second case, Rish Lakish says by a Mitzayra it demolishes it because Mitzayra l'chud or Naziris l'chud, so it does not demolish it. By Mitzayra it doesn't demolish it. But the case of the overlapping Naziris, maybe to agree to Rabbi Yochanan that it does demolish it, and everything that you accomplish, even for your own personal Naziris, gets reset. Sricha, that's why we need both cases to teach you how far and what the extremes of Rabbi Yochanan and Rav Shlokish's opinions are. One more case, and then we'll stop. We know by this case over here, I just want to get it straight. It's very important. A man said, when my wife has a baby, I'm becoming a Nazir. And then he says, I want to be a Nazir anyway. So he starts counting to day 20, correct? Because he promised to be a Nazir anyway. Then a Mazel Tov, day 20, his wife had a baby. So then what he did was he completed the second part and he became a regular Nazir, okay? Then he has to finish the counting of the first Nazir, right? So he'll take a haircut by day 50, and then he has to do another 10. The problem is that he just took a haircut 10 days ago. So when he completes that Naziris by adding another 10 to this, you can't take a haircut. Why? Because you only have 10 days of growth, and the Torah says you have to have 30 days of growth to take a haircut. So he's in a period of quasi-period, where he has to keep being a Nazir, but he's not really a Nazir because that's not part of his commitment. But we tell him, don't take haircuts yet. Stay like a Nazir for another 20 days so your hair could grow. So what's the din if he becomes Tamei Lameis? Nitma, if he became Tamei beyond Gidel Seir, during those days that he's growing his hair. Rav says, well, that's not part of your original commitment. So if you became Tamei Lameis, it doesn't reset the clock. Because Afilu Rabbi Yochanan, Rav will tell you, even according to Rabbi Yochanan, the Amos Soise, you always reset the clock. If you're middle of the Naziris, Gidel Seira, when you're in the period, the after period, like the post game show. So Mishnah Nazirisu, you're already finished the Naziris. You're just waiting to grow your hairs so you can take a haircut. So therefore, if you became Tamei at this point, it does not demolish your Naziris. Shmuel he says it does demolish your Naziris. Why? According to Rish Lakish, who says that it doesn't demolish it. Hasam shtei Naziris. Over there it was two Naziris, so they overlapped, and therefore you were middle of one Naziris, so certainly it doesn't demolish and get rid of the other one. But says Shmuel, Oh, but here, it's all one part of one big Naziris here. It's all part of this, is all one Nazir, one commitment. So therefore, according to Rish Lakish, since this is all one part, one commitment, it's therefore, if you became Tameh during this period, during the latter period of growing the hair, it demolishes everything. Okay.
Why can't he just grow his hair and eat and drink